Shabbat Shalom. In my first job in New Orleans, I was teaching music at a charter school that was trying to use the arts to turn around the failing school. And on my first day, I was shown my new classroom. It was a big, long, double room that would be great for movement activities and had space for lots of student instruments. I was already starting to dream about what it could become. I put up posters all over the walls and got excited for when the kids would arrive the next week. The next morning, I returned to my classroom and found that half of the posters had been torn off of the walls and placed on my desk. I was shocked. I was angry. Who would do this? So I put them back up. And the following week, there they were again, back on my desk, this time with a business card. It turns out this room was also used in the afternoon several times a week as a dance studio, though the principal had failed to mention this to me. Honestly, I'm not sure if he knew. What I didn't yet know was that the woman who taught in that space had actually designed it. Mama Mariama was consulted by the architects who fixed the school after Hurricane Katrina. She had selected track lighting and specialized floors and full-length wall mirrors and the bars, and it was a fully stocked dance studio and performance space. Mama Mariama had been teaching dance in New Orleans for decades, mentoring generations of young Black kids and building community through traditional African dance as well as ballet. Over time, I had the opportunity to study with Mariama and to hear her history. Through her, I gained a deeper understanding of the city that I had called home and the people that I now called neighbors. A year later, the school decided it needed more classrooms and placed a dividing wall right in the middle of this dance studio. The leaders of the school did not care about this woman who didn't even work for them. They tore out the track lighting, they tore out the specialized dance floor, they tore out the wall mirrors and the bar, and they tossed them in a dumpster. What happens when leaders are separate from the people their decisions impact? In this week's Torah portion, Parshat Chukat, Moses, who has been a leader of his people for nearly 40 years at that point, shows disdain for the Israelites. After the death of his sister Miriam, when the people came to complain to him and his brother Aaron about the well of living water that followed Miriam and the people through the desert drying up, Moses loses it. He snaps at the people and says, "Shimu na hamorim." Listen here, you rebels. With anger and with sarcasm, Moses creates a barrier separating himself from his community. In his anger, Moses does not follow God's command to speak to the rock to bring forth water, and instead speaks to his people. Are we to bring forth water from this rock? He then strikes the rock twice, and it gushes forth with water, bringing water to the people and their flocks. God tells him that because of his mistake, Moses will not be the one to lead the people into the promised land and will instead die in the wilderness along with the rest of his generation. Whether this consequence was for the act of striking the rock or against God's command or against his people, there is much debate. But in that moment, Moses loses his right to lead. What happens when our leaders see themselves as separate from their people? In the history of our own country, when King George and the British Parliament treated the people as rebels, the people gathered together and wrote a scathing document detailing the abuses they were suffering and declaring themselves to be their own leaders. As an offside, if you haven't had a chance to go back and read that recently, I recommend it. They wrote, "When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security." So revolution is an option, not one I advertise or advocate for, but how might we respond then to leadership that has separated themselves from us? Our Torah portion this week offers a solution. A beautiful thing happens among the Israelites as they see their leadership structures shift. Miriam dies, Moses loses his cool, Aaron also dies. They begin to take responsibility for themselves. They still make mistakes. They complain again about the conditions in the wilderness, this time directing their complaints not only towards Moses, but also directly at God. God responds by sending dragons against them. I'm serious. God sends fire serpents, hanachashim hasrafim, that fly and bite and kill a great many of the people. But the people then turn to Moses and say, Chatanu, we have sinned by speaking out against God and against you. They take real responsibility for their actions. God doesn't just recall the dragons, but gives Moses directions to provide a cure for dragon bites. The cure is a copper serpent mounted on a high pole, and in order not to die after you've been bitten by this dragon, you have to look up and look at this copper serpent. They had to face the harm that existed in the world around them. After this ordeal with the dragons, the Parsha goes on to detail how the Israelites moved through the wilderness, reaching out to the peoples whose lands they passed through, seeking allies. They did not find many, but instead had to defend themselves in battles against all of these peoples who saw them as easy targets. They were not meek or easily beaten. The Israelites had become more unified and therefore powerful because of their shared responsibility. How can we respond to leadership that has separated themselves from us? By recognizing our power in community. There is real harm in the world. In many cases, our leadership are so separated from us that they gleefully celebrate the exercise of their power to give themselves more power and do not care who is hurt by it. The solution is not empty complaining, like the Israelites practice, detailing to our leaders or each other all of the ways that they have missed the mark or have not fulfilled their promises of abundant grain and figs and pomegranates. But we also cannot ignore the problems around us, adjusting ourselves to living with actual dragons and watching our neighbors and loved ones die around us. Rather, we have to face the harm that exists and look up. This is what I learned from Mama Mariama. I had, in my ignorance, disrespected the work that she was doing and the community that she had built. Instead of writing me off or mumbling against me, she brought me in. She taught me what it meant to be a part of her community. She invited me to look up and to look around. In this moment, let us all learn from community leaders like Mariama. Let us learn the lesson from the Israelites. Look up, and you might just see your community surrounds you. Then get to work together and move us all towards something better. Happy 4th of July. Shabbat Shalom.